All right. Now we are going to hand over our screen to Sarah Komperud, Bell Museum Planetarium Programs Coordinator, and Jerry Jones, Astronomical League Awards Coordinator and Observing Co-Chair for the Minnesota Astronomical Society. Sarah and Jerry, it's all you. Are you guys ready to teach us about some night sky sketching skills?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? Am I on?
Yeah, I got you. Is Sarah there too?
I'm here, just navigating to my many, many screens on here.
I know. All right, you guys, take it away. We're excited to learn about how to see deeper through sketching constellations.
Okay, here, I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to get going here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you doing tonight, Jerry?
I'm doing great. What a marvelous, marvelous film that was.
Yes, I heard a lot of conversations or a lot of interesting, like I didn't know that the Milky Way could throw a shadow or cast a shadow.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So we're here to sketch. But how can sketching help us develop observation skills?
Well, just like having less light and being able to see the stars allow you to see more. There is an element of what, if you just make a point of looking longer, you get to see more. And that's really where sketching comes into play. It isn't an issue of trying to be an artist. I'm a horrible artist. In fact, when my children were young, they used to love to play Pictionary with me because they could laugh at my drawings. And sometimes even my drawings got on the refrigerator because they were so stupid looking. So this is not about being able to be an artist. It's more about being able to look carefully. And so sketching makes you slow down. I am not a good sketcher, but I do find that I enjoy it because it makes me slow down and makes me look more carefully. And the more I look, the more I see.
Okay, so let's practice some of this. So what do you need for sketching here? Or what should I go grab?
Well, it looks like you got it right there. There are paper, obviously, pencils, obviously, maps, obviously. Also need a red lamp if you have it, like you have it right there. And the red lamp is just so that your eyes get accustomed to being darker. Red light, our eyes are less susceptible to red light, and so it doesn't cause our pupils to dim down. It allows us to dark adapt a little bit more. So we can shine light on a piece of paper without making our eyes think that we're outside or in the daytime.
Yeah, you don't need anything special. I made this one out of a flashlight at my house. I took red nail polish and put it over a baggie and taped it to the end of my flashlight. So I know you can find red flashlights on Amazon and places like that, but I made mine at home with just the materials I had.
And if you want to get really fancy schmancy, you can do things like what I've done here. Here's my sketch pad. I have on the back of it, I have Velcro all the way around, but then I also have this light. It's just a light that's Velcroed on the back. And a dear friend of mine, John Marchetti, helped me make this a rheostat. But you see, there are my red lights, and it shines onto my pad here. And so I put my sheet of paper here, and then I'm able to dim it down a little bit. So you can get as fancy as this, or you can go with what you've got in your hand.
Okay. Well, any piece of paper or pencil looks like it would work, but what we did here to help us is we created a template for anybody who's interested in sketching constellations. And that template is what's imaged on the screen and can be found on our Constellation Hunter sketching webpage. So if you want a template, go find that on our website or just grab whatever paper you have. Okay, should we practice this, Jerry?
That sounds great. Which one are we going to do first?
I thought we could do Capella because that's a really bright star coming up in the east. And so we could do the constellation that's in. That'll be Auriga.
All right. So I've got mine ready. And I like to use a mechanical pencil just because the lead stays the same size. But you can use any pencil you want. Typically a number 2 pencil is good. But I like to use mechanical pencils. My wife hates them, so I have a lot of them around, and I get to use them all the time.
So you would definitely want to do this outside for observing. But because it's cloudy tonight, what we're going to do is Jerry and I are going to sketch what we see here on our screens in Stellarium. So Stellarium is a free planetarium software that you can find online. So Jerry, we're looking at the sky right now, and we're looking kind of south-ish. Where's Capella? Where should we be looking? Because the names of these objects are not going to be labeled up in the sky for us in the real sky.
Boy, so many times don't I wish that were the case. So Mars is easy to find, and it's obviously right there in Stellarium. Mars is still the big, brightest, reddest thing in the sky. You turn a little bit if you're looking at Mars, you turn a little bit to your left, and Capella is going to be just slightly lower, more to the east, more to the northeast, and it's going to be the brightest star in that area. So you find Capella, and then you can find the shape around Capella. You can zoom in a little bit there.
Well, we're looking at the sky as is right now, and Capella's kind of up in the east. Would it be helpful to bring it a little bit more center of our screen here a little bit later in the night?
Sure. Why don't you do that?
Let's do that. Let's just fast forward a little bit through this night. So we're looking at 9 o'clock right now. We'll just bring it kind of right overhead near the zenith between 10 and 11.
That looks great.
And so we found Capella. Again, there's the name of the star on the screen here, but it's part of the constellation of Auriga.
And there it is.
Oh. So Taurus decided to pop on too, but let's just look at Capella here in Auriga. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. Okay. What should we be sketching here, Jerry?
So right away, you're going to notice, even if you allow your eyes, if you have a star wheel or a star chart, you'll be able to see it. Capella is a good one. You'll be able to even imagine in your own mind those lines. And so at first, you probably want to start with the bright stars. Capella would be the first one there. And so since it's brighter, good idea to make that star a little bit larger and a little bit bigger.
Okay, so I'm going to follow along here on my clipboard on my paper here. So you said start with the brighter star Capella?
Sure. Start with that bright star with Capella. And then you want to move down and then just try to figure out the relationship, the geometric relationship while you draw these stars. And it's a good idea to look at geometric shapes. Like, for example, the three most left stars sort of make an equilateral triangle. And so you can use that to help you kind of relate how it all fits in. And you don't need to be overly concerned about getting exactly right, because here again, the issue is sketching makes you look deeper. Because now all of a sudden, because we have a situation where we've got some lovely additional stars in the sky, and now that we have some reference points, we're going to be able to fill in some of those other stars that we see. Now, I'm not doing a very good job, but that's okay.
I think mine kind of looks like a barn. I don't know if anybody else see that.
Oh, yeah, yours actually looks pretty good. Mine does not look nearly that good. Good job, though. See, I'm even embarrassed to show mine, so I'll show it quickly. There you go. So then once you've done that, if you can see them, then you begin to sketch some of the other stars. And never hesitate to use a pencil eraser to make some of the changes. And sometimes you want to wait until the very end. I'm going to erase my lines because sometimes when I'm doing this, I don't get my stars in quite the right spot. And so if I wait to put the lines in, I'll make a small adjustment to this star or to that star as I add more stars. And I begin to realize, oh yeah, actually that star was in the wrong place. See, and that's the whole process of looking a little more deeply. If I were able to do that, then I'm going to realize, oh, my first time I looked at it wasn't really quite right. Okay, now this is a little bit better. I like this. I'm beginning to see the the image that I should see. And now I can begin to see other stars in between. Like there are quite a number of stars there in between. And so now I can begin to add those. And
which ones are you looking at, Jerry?
I'm looking at the ones that are just lower, a little bit lower into the right of Capella, and kind of the line that connects Capella and Elnath. And there are actually quite a number of stars along that line. And if I looked carefully, and this would take some fairly darker skies, maybe some of the skies in the suburbs, if you were to take the cursor and draw a line between Capella and Elnath. Oh, that's not Elnath. Elnath is way down. It's by the one that's connected.
Oh, I was thinking a different one. Yep.
Yep. And if I were to draw a line there, I go through a whole bunch of stars there, especially towards the right, bottom right. And right in that area. And in fact, there are a couple of different asterisms in that area. And there's one that's a great binocular area, a great binocular item. It's called an asterism, and it's actually called the cosmic smiley face. Any chance you can zoom in on that?
Yeah, let's take a look at what a binocular view might be.
Now, all of a sudden, if we again use that line between Capella and Elnath, it goes right straight through the face of the smiley face. And there it is.
Well, I see it now.
And,
yeah.
And it's really rather obvious. And so there are people that have good enough eyes that would even actually be able to see that from their naked eyes, with their naked eyes. But then if you have a pair of binoculars, any pair of binoculars is going to show that. Now, you would not have necessarily known that that was there unless you took the time to sketch the constellation. And there's the real value of sketching. You begin to see more than you had ever seen before.
A cosmic smiley face. That's kind of fun.
Now, can we do kind of a binocular zoom in a little bit more? Because if you're in a darker sky, you're actually going to see quite a bit more than that cosmic smiley face. For example, on the right-hand side, those bunch of stars, there's a little parallelogram, little high, yep, right there, little parallelogram, and then that row of stars there. That's actually another asterism that is very obvious in binoculars, and that's called the leaping minnow. Now, the cosmic smiley face and the leaping minnow are part of the same sky that holds some very famous deep sky objects, which were discovered, or at least not necessarily discovered, but they were cataloged by Charles Messier in the 1700s. And those are the ones that have an M before all the numbers. And we're going to take a look. If we look over to the other side of that smiley face, we're right there.
Kind of looks like his cheek.
Yep. That's at one of the Messier objects, the Messier object that was seen by Charles Messier. And there it is. It's called the starfish cluster. And it's better known, I believe, as M38. Is that number up there? Did I get it right? I think it's M38. And now what you would see with your eyes, with your naked eye, would be maybe just something that looks like a fuzzy patch. If you were in a dark enough sky, and especially if you were young enough and your eyes were a little younger, you might see something funny there that doesn't look quite like a star. You pull your binoculars out, and all of a sudden you see this wonderful star cluster, which, using the right kind of equipment, really very much does look like a starfish cluster. And we'll find if we use this technique of first starting large, first looking at a large constellation and getting the overall look of the constellation, and then thinking about, well, what's inside? What's on the outside of that constellation? What can I see? And then if we have a pair of binoculars nearby, we can hone in on that, and we can find things that we had never seen before. So this really is pretty cool. Now, when we get to this kind of level, This is a little bit different sketching, but the sketching concept is the same. Astronomers will use something like this, which really all this is a log sheet, and instead of a blank sheet of paper, it has a circle. Now, this circle represents a field of view of either a pair of binoculars or of a telescope. And then we see this is kind of our frame of reference. And then we do the same exact thing. We use our clipboard or whatever we have and our red light here. And then we just start doing the same thing. The only difference, though, is that sometimes what we need to do is we need to determine where north and west are in our sketch. That's typically not very hard to do because in a telescope, all the stars are going to move towards the west. If we're using a pair of binoculars, of course, we know that west or the north is where where Polaris is. So we look for Polaris. Oh, that's north. We know where west is. Oh, now we know where we are. So we just make little notations of where north is and where west is. So we have a point of reference. And then we simply begin sketching. What we could do right now, if you'd like, and those along with everyone, we could just take a sheet of paper. We could draw a circle using, perhaps, for example, maybe the bottom of a mug or something like that, and just draw a circle so we have a field of view. And then we could draw the cosmic smiley face. And possibly then, if we can see it, and certainly we can see it in Stellarium right here, we could draw the smiley face and we could draw where we see M38. And again, as we sketch these, we want to try to be careful that the brighter stars are a little bit bigger and the dimmer stars are a little bit smaller. That helps us get a sense of perspective to what we're drawing. And if you look carefully at it, in many ways, that's what we'll see. We'll actually see the brighter stars seem to take on a larger amount of size characteristic, although really they're all, from our perspective, they're all just points of light. That's mostly just a sort of an optical illusion that's made by our telescopes and our binoculars. So I've made my smiley face. Yep, and I got the right amount of stars, and there's my smiley face, and it's in my field of view. And then what I would do is then right in that same spot, I would put in M38, and typically just a bunch of little stars just to kind of show where it might be. Sometimes what astronomers will do if they don't have the time, or if they can't take the time to really sketch out every single star, which is a really excellent thing to do, because there again, you learn what's there, you see deeper. Sometimes we'll just do this. We'll just make a bunch of little stars, and then we'll just draw a little dotted line around it to give an indication that that's where the star cluster happens to be. And for a lot of sketches, that's good enough. It all depends on how deep you're going to go. And then we could take a telescope. You can zoom in a little bit if you'd like. Now, this is a very challenging. Why don't you go zoom in all the way, see if you can get really close to it.
On M38?
Yeah, an M38. See, now already you can see this would be quite a challenge. Whoa, there it is.
Oh, and I can see what you mean by it's drifting in our telescope view here. You can kind of slowly see it drifting towards the west. Yep,
and we see where west is. But you can also see where that's going to be quite a challenge to sketch. But there are also techniques to sketch something as complicated as this, which is wonderful. The value of sketching is not necessarily to try to make a super accurate rendition of what you see, but a memory of what you get to see, of what you're able to see as you look deeper. And you get a chance to say, oh yeah, I saw that little star that I had never seen before, or I saw that smiley face that I had never seen before. And in some ways, in doing that, it's like you own a piece of the night sky that you hadn't owned before. And now you can go back to that sketch And looking at that sketch helps you remember the experience of being out under the night sky and having this quasi-wackadoodle relationship with the night sky and with this piece of paper and with you in between. And you're able to say, yep, that's what I saw. Pretty cool.
I like that this doesn't have anything to do with artistic abilities, because mine, I don't know, I'll hold it up here, kind of looks like he's missing some teeth in the front.
Yep. Yeah, yours looks a lot like mine. And what's also cool about sketching is that the more you do it, the better you get. But even more than that, the more you feel connected to the night sky. I don't remember where I read it, but I remember reading that it takes time for us to develop a mental image of something. If you look at something for a brief moment and then you turn away and you try to remember what it is you saw, it's very difficult. But it can take sometimes up to 7 minutes staring at something, so, to the point where then you begin to have that memory in your mind's eye. And that's what sketching helps to do. It slows you down. It forces you to take time so that when you've left the night sky, you have this memory of, yeah, there was that smiley face up there, or yeah, there was the M38, or yeah, there was Auriga, or yeah, I saw the line in between Capella and Elnath and how it connected to Taurus's horns, that I had never really noticed before. But yeah, I see it now because I took the time. I took the time to sketch it, and I took the time to think about it. And in some ways, I took the time to connect to the night sky in a way that I had never done before. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes and the more fun it becomes, actually. I remember my first sketches. Not only were they horrible, they were painful. But now when I go out to observe, I almost feel as though if I don't sketch something, I'm missing something. And even if I don't choose to sketch, if I'm sitting at the eyepiece, I'll just choose to stare at something that I'm observing for a long time, because I want to walk away with this mental image of what I saw.
Okay. But you don't need much. I mean, we've kind of gone from looking at the whole constellation here of Auriga, and that's something you don't actually want to use a telescope or binoculars for, because you won't see the full thing. So you could just use your naked eye. Now, did you say the smiley face was a naked eye object or asterism?
For good eyes.
For eyes under dark skies, maybe.
Yes, for eyes that are younger than mine. Yes. And it's certainly a very easy binocular. But I'd like to push a little bit on that, in the sense that I know quite a number of people who are right now looking at this Minnesota's star party, own binoculars, and probably many of them own telescopes, and they have no idea what to do with them. I would like to suggest that sketching is something that you can do. You don't even have to know what you're looking at, or using a pair of binoculars. It's a little harder with binoculars because you have to use both hands, unless you have a tripod. Even a camera tripod would work. But I would encourage people to use what they have, even if they have an inexpensive telescope or a pair of binoculars, and whatever it is you're looking at, try to sketch it. And I think you'll be surprised at how much more you see just because you're doing this activity.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I saw quickly come in the Q&A box, I haven't seen all the questions come in, so maybe we can get to a few of them in a moment or two, was about other constellations, because Capella here is just one of the entire sky. And thinking, like, how can we find where Capella, and here in this case Taurus, where they separate? And so the sky is actually divided up into these boundaries. That way we can see which constellation does Elnath actually belong to. I want to talk a little bit more about these boundaries. I think we have about 3 minutes left.
So the boundaries are arbitrary. I don't remember the year. I think it was the early 1900s or late 1800s. One of my colleagues out there knows exactly what the date is, and they're yelling at it right at the screen right now. I've decided to because this night sky was was disorganized or unorganized, that's a better word, decided to make these little boxes around the constellations so that astronomers knew what was in what constellation and what was not in one constellation. So if you take a look at the boundaries that you have around Auriga, really you'll find that all of those stars would all be considered part of Auriga, even though they're not anywhere near the stick figure that we often associated with Auriga. And that becomes really important because we need to know where those stars are and where the deep sky objects within those boundaries are. So we can give them names. Humans are wonderful at giving things names. That's what we just do naturally. So this gives the boundaries to the names of the constellations so we can fit things in relatively more orderly.
Okay. Well, we have just enough time. I think I saw a few more questions. One was, what program are we using? This program that you see on the screen is called Stellarium. And so it's an online software that I just downloaded to my computer, and it is free. And so it kind of, you can fast forward by date or by time and kind of see what the sky looks like from any location. So it is kind of a fun software to play around with. We use it here at the museum a lot to kind of help us plan out some of our observing nights.
And it's a great tool to plan out an outside observing night. What's going to be up tonight? I'll use Stellarium to find out what it is. What might be good to sketch? I'll use Stellarium to figure out what might be where I can look. It's a good program.
Okay. Now, I do want to share a quick different screen here because Jerry and I just touched on sketching. And you can actually do a whole bunch with it here. And we have a program at the museum. It's called Constellation Hunters, where we take one constellation at a time. And here's our website for it. And we make videos to share with you how to find these in the sky. And then if you choose to sketch them, and say if you had a different constellation you wanted to sketch, you could follow along with the videos or use the videos to go outside and your star map to find where the constellation is and to sketch them. So this is our Constellation Hunter sketching the northern constellations here. Jerry, we have another minute left here, but is there more to this Constellation Hunter sketching project here?
There certainly is. It's a starting point, and if you follow down, I believe it's on the rest of that website, you'll see that you can connect to a larger organization called, first of all, our local organization, Minnesota Astronomical Society, and we have a parent organization across the country called the Astronomical League. The Astronomical League provides opportunities for us as astronomers, whatever level we are, to go out and enjoy the night sky and to help organize what it is we want to see. And the Constellation Hunter is one of the programs that you can get a pin. There's the pin, da-da-da-da, and you can get a certificate. So you can actually, for those of us who are a bit more goal-oriented and kind of like to have pins and certificates, which I'm ashamed to admit that I'm one of those guys, you can actually become part, there I am, crazy guy. You can become part of this organization, become part of the Minnesota Astronomical Society, and you'll automatically be part of the Astronomical League. And these sorts of things you can sign up and you can do for free. There's no additional charge outside of the meager membership cost for the Minnesota Astronomical Society.
Okay. Well, thank you for walking us through that. I never would have known the cosmic smiley face was there had I not taken the time to sketch and see deeper. So thank you for sharing that.
There's a lot of amazing things out there. We just got to remember to look up and keep observing.
Yes. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry and Sarah. This was so fun. I have to tell you guys that I've been watching our Bell Museum Twitter feed, and we had a little person in their jammies that was sketching along with you.
Great. Fantastic.
Exciting. So happy to be able to be part of this. So I think you have some new sketching enthusiasts out there. So Wonderful. We're so grateful. Thank you for doing this.
Wonderful.